Hi everybody, Doug Miles along with Don Henderson as we come to you here again on Saturday. This is the 22nd of October. And last week, Don, we talked about the wild card playoffs, but this year we've had the ALCS and NLCS get underway, and it's been pretty interesting so far.
Very, very interesting. The Philadelphia Phillies took a 2-1 lead last night, playing their first game in Philadelphia, and Rob Thompson really went to the nth degree. He's a lot of relief pitchers. They were saying, well, they were going to be very careful about that because the next 5 games are consecutive. There's no off day when they go back to San Diego. But the Phillies won the game. They take a 2-1 lead. Played very well at home. Had some great defensive plays. Very, very interesting game. And, of course, this afternoon, as you well know, the Yankees are in a very difficult spot. They're down 0-2, and they just haven't hit the ball effectively and struck out 17 times in the first game and 11 more in the second game. And that's all anybody's talking about is they just aren't putting the ball in play at all.
You almost could expect, not only because the Astros are a better team, more talented team, but the Yankees, after having that tough battle with Cleveland, the next day they had to play that first game of the ALCS and go on the road.
Yeah, and they're going to with Cole again this afternoon. He struck out, I think, 9 or 10 in the first game, the final game of the first series against Cleveland. And so it'll be interesting. He's got to come back with a very big performance this afternoon because the Yankees can't afford to go down 0-3.
Tough to put 2 big games together, even if you're a talented pitcher like Cole. They needed him, obviously, to keep the Cleveland series alive. And now you got to ask him to do it again to prevent going down 0-3.
And the Yankees just have not been an effective team.
No.
I mean, the second half of the season, they didn't play real well. All the focus was on Judge hitting the 62 home runs and setting the record. But they just never, during the course of the season, had a group that put the ball in play. And now, Boone is playing with 2, actually, in some cases, 3 rookies that played very little baseball during the course of the regular season. And they're moving around, whether it's shortstop, the outfield, left field, whatever it may be. And they're expecting them to perform like the Astros, who are, former world champions.
And these are not the Yankees of the late 90s.
No, they are not. Cashman did not.
Despite the record they had during the regular season, it's not the same kind of team.
No. Okay. First half of the year, they hit a lot of home runs, scored a lot of runs, but they don't put the ball in play. They don't make the everyday play. Shortstop has been a disaster for them all year. And Cashman just has not set Boone up with the kind of roster that he can develop and do many different things with.
Of course, Yankees, the standard is set so high, if the Yankees lose this series, people consider it, if you're a Yankee fan, a bad season.
No question. When they went into the season this year with the payroll that they have, $230, $240 million, and I think they're like 3rd or 4th in total salary. But everybody expected them, especially after the first half, they were going to set an all-time record for wins when it went down the hill. And now Boone's having a very tough time putting anything together that can consistently win.
Conversely, though, you mentioned your Phillies and also the Padres, both really playing with house money.
Absolutely. I mean, for the Padres to knock off the Dodgers, won 111 games this year. They were 20 games plus behind during the regular season, and then, of course, to beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. And they really haven't played that well in the 3 games against the Phillies. The Phillies lead 2-1, but neither club has really hit the ball effectively. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this unfolds over the next 4 or 5 days.
Of course, the Phillies, we mentioned last time we did the show, really took off after they made the managerial change. Joe Girardi, who was the guy that was supposed to take them to this level, didn't work out so well, but once they got rid of him, boy, that team turned it around.
No, Rob Thompson, we talked about it last week, comparable to what happened with the Miami Marlins when Jeff Torborg was there. We talked about that last week, and I'll tell you, Robbie Thompson's got them up 2-1, and we'll see what happens this afternoon. But if they go on to, they've got a lot of talent, and if they go on to get to the World Series, that'll be almost an identical story to what happened with Miami.
Of course, Don, you were with the Phillies for so long. You saw them win several of those World Series. I guess this would be the most improbable team if they made it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, at the first half of this year, you wouldn't think they were going to be anything but a cellar dweller. I mean, their defense was terrible. Their offense was equally as bad. But once Rob Thompson came in and took over, they made a complete flip-flop. And now they're really playing very solid defense. They're moving runners along. They're doing all the things you have to do, the little things, to win games.
Right.
And so whether it's all the manager or whether it's all the players or whatever it is, they've just completely turned it around.
Another baseball note, former manager of the San Francisco Giants who won 3 World Series with them, Bruce Bochy, who left the game because I believe he had some health issues back in 2019. He's going to be the manager, or is the manager now, of the Texas Rangers. Kind of a surprise, I thought.
Well, a lot of people wanted Bochy to come back a lot earlier.
Right.
And he kept saying no, no, no. When he left the Giants, he said that was going to be it. He wasn't going to manage anymore.
I believe there's some heart issues I think he had at the time.
I don't know what the illness was, but he said he wasn't going to manage anymore. But the Rangers, I guess, made a very solid offer, and he made the decision yesterday, that he was going to re-sign. And people in Texas are very happy because I'll tell you, he's an outstanding manager.
Yeah, 3 World Series in, I believe, 5 seasons for the Giants when they really had kind of a mini dynasty going on there.
And a lot of times they weren't the best team. I mean, he managed them to be the best team, but they weren't the most talented team.
They'd have a great year, win it all, then the next year would be an off year, then they'd win it again.
Yes.
So they did that three different times. But good manager, and the Rangers are one of those teams that always seems to be building, then they kind of disappoint. So I'll see if this is the move that'll make them get back to the World Series, which they did under, Washington about 12, 13 years ago, right?
I'll tell you, interesting because
Ron Washington.
The Astros have done such a terrific job that.
Yeah, they own the state of Texas right now.
Oh my God! And now they're talking about maybe there's not great relationship between the general manager who's put this team together, and going to win 2 world championships. At least in my opinion, they're going to win 2 world championships in the last 3 years. And now he hasn't signed a new contract yet. Dusty hasn't signed a new contract yet. But they're saying Dusty's going to be automatically renewed,
right?
And but they don't know about the general manager yet. Click has not signed anything.
Well, I think if the Astros win it all, Dusty probably just goes out on top.
Oh,
I think he's in his mid-70s. He may say, "Why come back for another one? Just win it all."
No, he wants to come back.
He wants to come back.
Oh, that's what he said. Right. He wants to come back, and they're almost fait accompli. He's coming back. The players want him, and he turned it around after the scandal. He's got them in great position.
Not going to get any better, though, if you win it all. It's a good way to go out on, like Jim Brown, go out on top.
Yep, no question about that. But I don't think he's going to do that.
No, but we'll see what happens with that. And, of course, hockey started this week. Hockey's one of those seasons, Don. I was thinking about it this week. The regular season just kind of starts. There's no, like, big opening day. People don't really talk. Maybe in Canada they do. But here it just kind of picks up where it left off last year. But hockey did start.
Yeah, ESPN did a day before the opening game, did a whole series, the whole night on what was going to happen in the National Hockey League. Nice to see the Flyers get off, of course, being in Philadelphia, and they got off to a very solid start. Won 3 games in a row to get started, lost the 4th. But the Lightning are hurting a little bit. They're, 2-4, I think, right now.
Yeah, John Tortorella, of course, we knew him well from down here in Tampa, and then went to the Rangers, did okay there, not great, then really kind of had a rough go out in Vancouver. Finally came back with the Columbus, did very well there briefly, and now he's back with the Flyers.
Well, he's one of those coaches that when he first comes in, if you follow his instructions and you go with what he does before you tire, because he's
like Mike Keenan.
Exactly right.
A little bit like Mike Keenan, who
great comparison.
Come in, everybody hates him, but they win because they hate him.
Yep. And then the second or third year, then they go the other way.
Right.
So, but
he wears you out.
Yeah. I wish him a lot of luck. Yeah. I hope he's very successful with the Flyers. I hope he can, be more than a 1 or 2 year manager and a coach. And I hope that he can, get some kind of consistency, because the Flyers have gone from being one of the great teams in the National Hockey League to really struggling over the last 3 or 4 years. So it's time for them to, like the Phillies, they're 11 years since the Phillies were in the playoffs, so maybe the Flyers will do the same thing.
We'll wrap up. Just a quick note on USF football, which I've been covering this season. It's not been a great season. Obviously, they lost again last week at home, at homecoming day, and now their quarterback, Jerry Bohannon, who people may remember from playing at Baylor last year, very good quarterback, went through the portal, came to USF, but he's really been their only offense this year, whatever offense they've had, but he went out with a shoulder injury last week. He's out for the year. Who knows if he comes back next year or not. And the bowl season just continues to go down the tubes.
Yeah, I saw the Temple game last week on ESPN2, and again last night they were on with Tulsa. And it was a very good game the first 3 quarters. It was I think 17-10 at halftime. Tulsa came back to take the lead, and I didn't see the very end of the game. With 2 minutes to go, I think Tulsa was up like 24-17.
Yeah.
So I don't know the final score, but Temple made a run at them, but they're not quite good enough to win consistently. They're like USF.
Yeah. So Jeff Scott, the coach there, under fire a bit. Although this is not a huge college football town where it's news every day, but he's in his third year, and people are wondering if they're going to bring him back next year or not. He's had so many injuries. I mean, that's not his fault, but they have not played well, even without the injuries being a factor.
Well, also the difficulty is, I mean, let's face it, trying to, induce fans to come to the games.
Very difficult.
You said the other day when you were there, they announced 10,000.
They announced 30,000 last week, and there's half of that.
Yeah, that's what
Let's be honest.
I don't necessarily see the sense of doing that. I mean,
no. Who are you kidding?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, everybody that's there, and I didn't see anything in the paper about, but Temple did the same thing for years. They would announce 25,000 were there when maybe there was 7,000
right,
there.
Right.
I don't understand the sense of that.
And of course, USF, they want to build that stadium on campus, and having a losing team like this doesn't help. So, we wish them well. It's my alma mater, second alma mater, so I'd like to see them do well. But boy, since really the last Willie Taggart year, about 7-8 years ago, they have just really been terrible.
Well, Temple's the same way. I mean, they keep talking about building a new stadium on campus, but first of all, they don't have the money. It's a state school. They don't have the money. The state doesn't have the money right now to fork over to build a stadium. No. Neither does the city of Philadelphia or the county or the surrounding area. And they're just not going to get a stadium built because, to me, to build a stadium to, take care of 7,000 fans doesn't make very much sense.
Not worth it at all. Anyway, the USF has a bye week this week. Next week they travel to Houston, which is going to be another very tough task. Houston's not great this year, but they're one of the teams that's moving over to a new league next year, and they don't want to lose to USF.
Well, they've had big meetings this last week about trying to expand this playoff system to 12 instead of what we have right now by 23. They did not resolve the problem over the weekend. They've scheduled another meeting. They said they were still hopeful. I think they broke up on Thursday night or Friday and said they were unable to come to a decision. But they want to get it to 12, and they will.
Yeah.
It's all about the money.
Oh, yeah. And, another week of games? Yeah. Sure, they'll do it.
And they have to wait another year for Texas and Oklahoma to come in. So that's another thing. So we'll wait and see. But the big conferences are taking over. There's no question about that.
Well, that'll wrap it up for this edition, and we'll see what happens this week. We'll know who's in the World Series by next week, and hopefully for your Phillies, they'll be there. Yankees, I don't think they're going to be there.
We'll start all over again.
Thanks for watching, everybody.